History rises like the sun over the land of Lanka, dispelling the darkness of myth and legend on the full moon day in the month of Poson, in the year 247 BC, when there appeared on a rock in the north-central region of the island, Arahat Mahinda, bringing with him the gentle doctrine of Gautama the Buddha. Within a century, a great civilization was born and flourished in the fertile valley of the Malwatuoya, with its center in a city called Anuradapuraya. Under the symbolic shade of the Sri Mahabodhi, a branch of the Bo tree in Buddha Gaya, where Buddha attained enlightenment and brought to Sri Lanka within a few years after the arrival of Arahat Mahinda by his own sister, Sanghamitra. A close link was forged between state and the Buddhism. There developed a lifestyle perhaps unique in the ancient world. The forest-capped mountains rise from cultivated valleys whose green crops watered by artificial lakes that set at droughts to which the northern provinces are subject. This fertility was not merely for physical subsistence, but fed the spiritual life of the vast masses, sustained their dreams and maintained a faith reflected in the awesome religious monuments. Ruan Valley, or the Gold Dust Dagam, built in the 2nd century BC to mark the birth of a nation, when King Dutukamunu, hero of the epic Mahavamsa, Princess Vihara Mahadevi of the western region, sired by a king of the deep south, united the three regions under one scepter. It is one of the most beautiful monuments to a faith in the world. To the north of the sacred city of Anuradapura stand Abhayagiri, one of the most important centers of Buddhist academia in the ancient world. It is recorded in chronicles that Abhayagiri was built by King Vattagamini Abhaya, popularly known as Walagamba, somewhere between 89 and 77 BC. Covering approximately 200 hectares, Abhayagiri Vihara had all the components required by doctrine for a Buddhist temple. The image house, stupa, Bo tree, shrine or bodhigara, chapter house or poyage, residence for monks, and refectories. However, this complex grew over 5 centuries and reached its zenith in the 7th century AD. The centerpiece of the monastery Abhayagiri Stupa, as it stands today, is the original as last renovated by Parakramabahu I, sometime in the 12th century AD. This is Jethavana, a stupa at the center of a monastic complex which stood in direct rivalry to the Abhayagiri. Built by King Mahasena, who ruled at Anuradapura between 276 to 303 AD. The gigantic stupa, which is the focal point of the monastery complex, was the 3rd tallest monument in the world at the time of the collapse of the Roman Empire in the 4th century AD. It was surpassed only by the two tallest pyramids at Gizeh. At over 120 meters in height, it is the tallest stupa in the world, and indeed the tallest brick building ever built by man. In the words of the British civil servant Sir Emerson Tennant, who gazed upon it in awe, the materials are sufficient to raise 8,000 houses, 30 streets half a mile in length, would construct a town the size of Ipswich or Coventry. They would line an ordinary railway tunnel 20 miles long or form a wall 1 foot in thickness and 10 feet in height, reaching from London to Edinburgh. This deceptively simple monolithic Buddha statue in the Samadhi or contemplative pose is now considered a masterpiece of Buddhist art. Its classical simplicity and purity of line and form have invested it with a translucent spiritual quality, reflecting the Spartan code of Theravada Buddhism. It dates back to the 4th century AD and is referred to by the Chinese traveler Fa Hien. We may infer that the monastery complex at Jethavana housed nearly 3,000 monks at a time, going by the size of the refectory. The site, covering approximately 80 hectares and set out as a monastery, contains all the elements of a highly evolved monastic architecture. Scattered around the site are many residential complexes or colleges integrated into a well-planned theological academy. The scale of the refectories or alms halls at both Abhayagiri and Jethavana are clear. A large number of residential students, scholars and other members of these monasteries, which may have been anything from 4,000 to 5,000 at any given time. This Pilimage or image house, 27 feet in height, had once upon a time contained an upright figure of the Buddha. Only the base remains today with its chamber stripped of all the precious offerings, buried before erecting the statue. This is the Uposatagara or chapter house of the Jetavana complex, residential quarters for monks known as Panchavasa. An inscription of dated somewhere towards the end of the 10th century speaks thus: "Whatever remains after repairs have been effected at the site of the great stone statue Ruanpaha, the chapter house at the Abhayatura Mahasaya, at the shrine of the sacred Bo tree, shall be kept as communal property." Recent archaeological excavations at the site have also revealed other features such as assembly halls and temple buildings. At the entrance to the residential quarters of the chief priest is a guard stone. S.M. Burrows, in his archaeological report in the late 19th century, states, "The door guardian stones, standing over 5 feet high, is unrivaled in excellence of preservation and delicacy of finish." This is the best example of a moonstone, a creation unique to Sri Lankan sculpture. It can be seen at the foot of the steps leading to the Panchavasa or the monks' quarters. This is a kind of stupa rare in Sri Lanka, with steps leading to the upper stories, and reflects strong and mystic Mahayanic influences. There is evidence supported by finds that the entire stupa, stone slabs and statues have all been painted with locally produced lime-based paint. One such paint-making center with engraved depressions for mixing has been discovered and restored at Abhayagiri. The Sannipatasala or assembly hall for monks facing the Abhayagiri Dagava is the largest of its kind in Anuradapura and may have accommodated a congregation of over 5,000. In the Mahamega Gardens, there are the remains of a sanatorium for aging bhikkhus. Dharani Griha, as these terraced edifices are known, may have been chambers where rituals and occult practices were performed and reflect the Mahayanic tradition, represented by the Abhayagiri chapter. Abhisheka Mandapa, the ceremonial anointing hall. There is something very weird about these remnants of ancient luxury hidden in the lonely forest, observed Henry W. Cave, writing in 1896. There are so many, he continued, and they vary so much in architectural treatment that they must have added greatly to the aspect of the city. We cannot help reflecting too that the famous baths of the Roman emperors were constructed contemporaneously with these, and that while those of Caracalla and Diocletian, being built of brick, have crumbled now beyond repair, the picturesque and elegant baths of Duttagamini and their beautiful terraces and stairways of granite can with little trouble be restored to their pristine condition. Cave was unaware that these elegant baths were built almost exclusively for the use of Buddhist monks in a city wholly dedicated to a faith whose goal is nirvana. There are other stupas in the Abhayagiri Vihara complex. One such is the Lankarama stupa, which originally had a conical roof covering. Enormously increased with the popularity of the new religion, and Duttagamini made their welfare, erecting the Loha Pasada, known as the Brazen Palace, for their accommodation. In the words of the great chronicle Mahavamsa, in dormitories, having windows with ornaments which are bright as eyes. Ruan Valley Saya, the gold dust Dagaba with its purity of line and contours of classical spareness, symbolizes the spirit of Anuradapura, one of the most beautiful chapters in the history of mankind's quest for peace and harmony on earth.